Oh, hey there. Welcome to the Blaine Flame Kitchen, where entomophagy is at work. Now, normally we do normal dishes. I'm showing you guys how to make normal things, but today we're going to be experimenting with some insect flour, specifically cricket flour. I want to make a disclaimer. The cricket flour that I ordered did not get here in time, so we're going to be using fake cricket flour, which is just normal flour, but I'll still show you how you can make dishes using cricket flour and some of the benefits of using insects in our diet. So first, I want to get into a little bit of an overview of why we should eat insects. Now, the first reason is because most countries actually eat insects. They consume them on a regular basis. Some sources say about 50% of countries do this. Some sources say up to 80% of countries eat insects on a regular basis. But whatever the exact number, other people do it. It's not that weird. Really, it's just a stigma in the United States that we're not going to eat insects because they're gross. They're actually high in nutritional value, and we'll get to that in a second. We eat other arthropods like shrimp, crab, and other crayfish. They're actually considered a delicacy. So why are insects weird to eat? I don't know. Another reason that we should eat insects, or consider at least incorporating them into our diet, is because they're abundant. There are many more insects than there are livestock and even humans on this earth. They can provide a lot of nutrition for a lot of people. Another reason is because they have less of an effect on the environment. Cows, for instance, produce lots of greenhouse gases in the form of methane that can lead to global warming and climate change. The last reason why we should at least consider incorporating insects into our diets is because they're high in nutrients. This cricket flour, for example, is very high in protein and other vitamins like B12 and the omegas. Now let's get into cricket flour specifically. It can be used as a substitute in any flour-based dish. Today we're going to be using it in pancakes. I have some of the stuff ready for it right now. I have Hungry Jack, just your normal basic pancake mix. I have a cup of that. I have 3/4 of a cup of water. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of our cricket flour. Now, you can use cricket flour as a complete substitute for flour, or you can just use little bits at a time. If you're just starting out and you're just getting into it, I would suggest easing in and just using a little bit at a time. We're using about 15% cricket flour compared to normal flour. That's the ratio we're going to be using today in Chef Blaine's kitchen. Now, you can also make cookies, cakes, bread, like I said, any flour-based dish. And it's actually highly nutritious. 65% of the body weight of a cricket is actually in the form of protein. So when we make cricket flour, 65% of that is going to be protein. 2 tablespoons equals 11 grams of protein in cricket flour. And it also is very high in B12 vitamins, omega-3, omega-6, and others that we won't discuss today. So you might be wondering, how is it made? Does it have the whole entire cricket in it? Do you just take a live cricket and crush it up and make the flour? Not exactly. Basically, you can make your own cricket flour pretty easily. You take the crickets and you dry them. There are many different ways to do that. That can be freeze-dried, sun-dried, you can bake them, you can dehydrate them. Many different companies do this in different ways. Next, you coarsely grind up the whole entire cricket. So you get a coarse grind and you just basically crush them up until they're ground, but there are still going to be legs, there's still going to be wings in there. So then you would sift it. So you sift out the legs, the wings, other parts of the cricket, the antennae that you might not want to be eating. Next, you use a fine grinder and you grind it out into a very fine powder. And this comes out as a soft, flour-like texture. So this is what the companies do. You can also do that. It is a little bit expensive to buy, but we're moving towards that in today's day and age. Now, the taste of the flour may actually vary depending on what species of cricket and what you feed the cricket. So sometimes if you feed it a certain plant, it might taste a little sweeter. Or if you feed it something else, it might taste a little bit more bitter. Lots of companies are experimenting with this, and trying to figure out what's the best taste, what's the best combination, and a lot of that just comes down to preference. So what other insects can be eaten? Almost all insects are edible. Dried crickets, maggots, and larvae are very popular. Cicadas are served in some places of the United States, along with the maggots and larvae, and around the entire rest of the world. Ants, aphids, locusts, katydids, and grasshoppers, and flies are other popular insects that are consumed around the world, amongst many others. So aphids, for example, are composed mostly of flower nectar and plant nectar. So they can have a sweet, moist taste if you're eating them. Ants, depending on the species, can taste citrusy, like lemon ants, and leafcutter ants are also another popular ant that are eaten around the world. Lastly, before we get into the actual cooking process, companies are trying this. There's a company that went on Shark Tank called Chapul, which is the Aztec word for cricket, and they actually use cricket flour to make protein bars. Mark Cuban actually bought a stake in the company, and they are thriving right now. They're a growing company. They're tearing down that stigma of using insects in our diets in the US and around the world today. So without further ado, let Chef Blaine go to work. So we're going to start. I already have a cup of the Hungry Jack mix here. I'm going to just dump that right in this bowl. I'm going to take my 3/4 cup of water, pour it in. I have a griddle over here that's been heating, so it's ready to pour pancakes on. I'm going to take my cricket flour. I'm going to take just a moderate 2 tablespoons and put it in. Now, when reading up on this, I actually found that many insects, when they are baked or dried, actually taste very nutty. So they have a nutty texture, a nutty flavor. Some say they compare it to bland meat, anywhere from chicken to sunflower seeds. So this isn't something that's going to be tasting gross like you might think. It's going to taste like everyday items. Now I'm just going to stir this mix in with that water. And you can see how easy this is. I mean, all you have to do is substitute a little bit of cricket flour and you have a protein-rich and unique dish. So a little bit of an update here. I'm stirring in the mix. It's looking quite good. It's also looking quite liquidy. So I'm actually going to check the recipe here. All right. Everything checks out in Chef Blaine's kitchen. We're just going to continue mixing this. And I'm going to add my secret special insect ingredient, honey. This obviously isn't a part of the insect body, but it is a byproduct of bees. It can be a natural sweetener. I'm just gonna add a nice little bit of honey in there, enough to taste. I'm gonna stir that in. And then we're gonna pour onto the griddle. Now, if only you guys were here to enjoy this with me. As I wait for these to cook, I think we've got all the information that we need, and I just want to encourage you to go out there and try something new. Try cooking with cricket flour, see what happens. It's not as gross as you might think. All right, that's all for today on Chef Blaine's Kitchen, the Blaine Flame Kitchen to be exact. Don't forget, always kiss the chef.